My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
BooBaes. BooBaes.
Hi.
Hello, and welcome to
BooBaes.
BooBaes. That's right. We're your host. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And today we're here to talk to you about a fucked up film.
Yeah, pretty dark-sided, I'd say.
At one point, my notes just go, what the fuck?
It's really...
What am I watching?
Yeah, especially like because some sequences don't even feel like they're real, or like I'm like, what's happening?
Well,
I'm like, how did we get
fully
here?
expected it to just be black mold, and then she killed all the police officers who
She's
came
like
to
crazy.
help her.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's what happened. Like, and thinking that's what happened to her dad too.
That could have been an explanation as well.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because once the black mold, like there was that scene where the black mold like started literally growing on the
Mhm.
walls, and you could see it like overtaking it. I was like, oh shit, she hallucinated all of this and then just killed a bunch of police officers.
Yeah.
But that's
I
not
can
what
see that.
happened.
Because especially like I was like, it's almost like hallucinations, most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's like she definitely
they
seems
were,
like she
like,
could be.
Ghosts and
Yeah.
stuff. But then were they ghosts? Were they real?
I
Were the cops who were laughing at her part of it?
There's a lot of questions that get opened up with this because it doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
explain everything, and it's like cut in a way where it's like it's kind of like, I don't want to say PC, like, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe some reading in between the lines or rewatching will probably allow us.
Yeah,
to
I feel like
see-
I definitely need to
Mhm.
rewatch this film.
um
My notes on it are
All
look
over
how
the
short.
place?
No, look how
Oh.
short they are.
because you were just into it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I was like,
I think I mean
what?
kind of the same.
I can't even write down what's happening right now.
I still had to I found myself having to like force myself to like, okay, get into the notes, like write something down so you remember where we're at or like what's happening. But it was there was also a lot of like, or at least what, like 1 2 3 4ish 5, like a lot of jump scares throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
It did a really, I guess, good job, I feel like, of building tension and then releasing it.
One of them got me.
Yeah, I'd say like 2 or 3 got me, honestly, because I was also kind of allowing myself to be like scared, if
Get
that makes
scared
sense.
of it, yeah.
But yeah, it is came out in 2023, but it is a reimagining reboot of a 2014 film called The Last Shift.
Yes.
Directed by Anthony DiBlasi, who
Also directed this film.
exactly, and co-wrote it with Scott Poiley. And yeah, I tried to look into The Last Shift a little bit, and it seems like basically homeboy got a budget and was like, let me just make this but make it better.
Yeah.
And that's how we got Malum. So you want to just jump right in?
Yep.
Let's go for it. We start off with like a song that we hear throughout the entire movie over and over and over again.
It was like the main theme song that you didn't hear really any other music. It was just
either like background ambiance type of scoring, and then like this. And especially like we heard it in multiple ways, like either in humming or like over the intercoms or by the people actually singing it. And we are at the Langford Police Department station thing, and we instantly see this like footage of, it looks like the Game of Thrones chair. Like
yeah,
a throne.
yeah, it definitely was a throne.
Yeah.
I suppose fit for the king of
The herald
demons,
of whatever.
harbinger of the damned is
what he was called.
Yeah. And the something of Baron, the Temple of Baron, or something like that.
There was a lot at some point, because they're also like praising the low god, and I thought this dude was the low god, but then at the end they're like, no, this demon is just, I guess, his lieutenant or something, or the right hand man of the low
I'm
god,
really not
whoever that
sure
is. There was a lot of stuff that
there
wasn't explained all the way, but we're basically watching all this footage of a ritual going on. We see some pretty sadistic stuff on the footage. It's very like found footage.
Yes, I thought it was gonna be an found footage film at first,
like
and I was
the whole
like,
time.
woohoo!
Your favorite?
Yeah,
it definitely interjects and cuts into it a lot of times.
Yes,
but it is not a found footage film.
No, and I wanted to try to find the lyrics to the song, but I can't find it because it kept playing over and over again, but I didn't write it down.
I didn't either.
But it basically is like saying something about like we pray to the temple of the low god, and like in his arms we are safe and stuff, and his blood is washed us clean. It sounded like a normal religious song,
like a praise and worship song, but to their deity.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was just a very, and of course every time they sung it, it was a creepy rendition and not like
sounding very much like a child's
happy-go-lucky
rhyme.
Like a little nursery rhyme.
There you go. And we get that, and then we get with the captain. It like transitions really quickly to the captain. Captain, what was his last name?
Lauren,
right? Yeah. And
his first name was
Will. And so he basically they're in a locker room. He's with the other male cops. They're, I guess, getting off of their shifts, and you can already tell like there's something going on in his mind. He's having some affliction happening, and he opens up his locker, and everybody starts clapping because we see that he basically saved the 3 girls that were in the ritualistic video thing that we saw playing at the beginning of the film. And so we get a little glimpse of that in the foreshadowing, because we see the name of the cult leader with his like face, like someone burned it with a little lighter or something.
Yeah, or shot through it with a bullet. Possibly. It did have scorched edges.
Yeah.
So who knows?
And so
it was a perfect circle.
Malum, was the last guy, John Malum, right?
Yeah, John Malum.
And so the captain at this point is basically not taking the what's the word? Not praise, but like when people are like recognition, they're like, trying to recognize him for it. And then one of the other cops is like, just take the win, because you basically saved these girls, even though the captain feels like he didn't. But there's also, we find out
he's got some obvious guilt over not saving the 4th girl, and thinking that he could have saved her had only he called it in sooner.
Becky.
And so he feels bad.
Betty, my bad.
Betty. Yeah. I was like, I don't remember her name. So
Betty, her spirit ends up getting in the piggy, and so that's whenever the other cops leave. They head out for the night.
Even going back, just like right when we opened up to him, we got him sitting there like in a daze, just kind of chanting some words, and it was, I think, the song that he was mouthing the words to ever so slightly. Yeah. And so it was like he had become kind of a part of it. And so clearly something's off. He's not in his right state of mind. And that's even more apparent when we go into the next scene, which is where we're in the shooting range, right? Yeah,
the shooting range. And this one guy cop is talking to another lady cop. And I guess they had some like sexual intercourse or something, and
homeboy couldn't get it up,
and he was trying to explain himself, but
that's what they all say. He had too much to drink. Happens before. That's never happened to me before, bitch. Yes, it has.
He had whiskey dick.
Yep.
And so then as she's talking to him, she like we don't see, but she has a perspective and being like, oh my god, no, and her head gets blown off, and then
It happened so fast.
yeah,
Like her head was just gone, and I was like,
bam.
oh shit.
And then we see the captain, Loren, with the shotgun, and then the other officer starts begging for him to not do it, and he gets killed. And then we get very abruptly a title card that says Malum. And then we get the captain back. He's sitting down in a holding cell, and he's got a dead guy next to him, and he's got a shotgun on him, and he's what does he say? He starts saying something.
He says,
is it the song or
yeah, I think he's saying something about the song.
Yeah.
And then he says, tell Jessica and Diane I'm sorry.
And
Tell him I'm so sorry. And
blows
then
his brains out.
Yep, he does
Boom.
exactly that.
Yeah. He unalives himself, and then we get a quick 1 year later time skip.
And we're with Jessica. And
she's getting ready for her first shift.
Yeah.
On duty.
And it was pretty apparent to me that this was his daughter. Like, they didn't tell us her name yet.
Yeah.
But, and I don't think I remember them saying the captain's last name at first either. So, like, reading her badge wouldn't have helped. But I don't know. For some reason, I was like, okay, this is probably Jessica.
Yeah.
And it was. And yeah, she's getting ready for her first shift. And she's kind of the whole film, she recites the
cop's oath kind of thing.
Yeah, something like that. It's like the rule book or something. And
police officer's rule book, handbook or something like that.
Yeah, handbook. And she's sitting there reciting that, and she tends to kind of do that throughout the whole film. But then at some point it becomes more about, it's more like the song, right?
What do you mean?
At some point she
says
says
it starts to shift into
a religious tone rather than
because it's like almost like a mantra.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, she always starts saying it whenever she's in her most like
vulnerable
and like
stressful situations.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And then she, at one point she says like, in the eyes before God or something like that too, which could be in the police handbook.
Well, I feel like I mean, it's like on the dollar bill, and God we trust.
Yeah.
Like, so I feel like it's just like one of those type of situations.
Yeah. I like to think that she's going into, like, she's becoming part of the religion.
Like of the cult.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I mean, she was basically her whole, I mean, what's the word? They baptized her, so she was already predetermined to be a part of it somehow. To be the queen, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's getting ready. She's about to go on her first shift. But before she does that, she goes to the cemetery to go visit her dad's grave tombstone to talk to him. She's like, I'm about to go on my first day. Can't believe I'm a cop. And then we have her drunken, estranged mother showing up, and she starts to stir the pot a little bit, I guess, because she's like, why is this where she asks her like why she's dressed like that, or your daddy didn't want you to be a cop.
Yeah, he wouldn't have wanted this. Why are you in that uniform and stuff like that? And the whole time she refers to her as Diane, which, so at that point you can definitely clue in that yes, this is Jessica and Diane, the two people he apologized to before offing himself. And she the whole time it just keeps referring to her as Diane, and I was like, is this her mom?
Yeah,
because I was like, why are you referring to her by her first name?
Because she's estranged, because she doesn't like her.
Yeah, I know. But that I couldn't tell if this was like a stepmom situation. I wasn't sure if she like actually gave birth to her or not. Because
that could be a possibility.
Kept acting.
I just thought it was her mom, and that she just really did not care for her at the moment or didn't have a good relationship with her.
Yeah, and that is,
I mean, some people
what
that I know
happened, but
personally
at
don't
first
call
I wasn't
their mothers by my mom.
Yeah,
they call them by their name.
Yeah. It just confused me at first, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
and she's clearly got a drinking problem. She at first is like, I'm not drunk, and then pulls out a flask from her hip and takes a swig, and then that's when Jessica's like, okay, all right, I'm leaving, basically. And you get this other little tidbit that her dad liked to, I guess, like model toys, like where you would make like little figurines. And this one that was on his tombstone was his favorite one, and it was of a little knight kind of in shining armor on a horse.
And a pose, like a gallivanting pose.
Yeah.
And we have, I guess that's honestly, I don't know why that even, it never really, it's a part of the plot, like in storyline, I mean, but it never really drives or goes anywhere. Like, it's not like it's a relic or something that helps to save, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently he liked to create things. And then
maybe this is just me spitballing and trying to find some sort of connection, but maybe it was like in his mind that was how he could be the king, like if that was a king on a horse or something. If Diane and them were supposed to be like the treasure jewels and the queen and stuff, I don't know,
of
maybe,
the cult.
yeah,
but John was supposed to be the king.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that was the father trying to put him into their lives, not being a part of the cult, but just like trying to make himself. I don't know.
Yeah. And then immediately they're leaving the cemetery, whatever, and then we get to see that on the back of his tombstone there is the cult symbol that we've been seeing since like the beginning of the film, but it's fresh and in blood.
Yeah, and it's like the symbol's like a pentagram of sorts that has a longer like
a tail on it
at the end. Yeah, it looks like a little chin,
and it's
or like a goat head.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Or if you look at it the other way, it's like a shooting star with like the
little tail.
And so Jessica is now working. She's driving, or I guess she's kind of patrolling. I don't know. She's just driving, and she's trying to get to the decommissioned station, the old police station, which she does get to. And we do see that on the way there, though, there's the cult sign on like a building. There are people who are getting arrested on the steps of what seems to be a church or a building, who are like looking and smiling all weird and chanting the song that we saw at the beginning. So we're kind of getting a glimpse.
I think it was the new police station.
Okay, is that what it was?
Because they said, didn't you see them on the steps of our station on the phone call?
That might be what it was.
One of them.
Then. That's probably what it was.
I think it was the police station. And yeah, there's all of these people. There's a group of them sitting there singing. One of them was making intense eye contact with her, not letting up the whole time. And she is looking at this person in return and almost hits two individuals in the road, who then they say, "Watch it, piggy." They refer to cops as pigs.
The whole movie.
So that is, I'm just going to use their vernacular.
Yeah. We don't agree with any of the opinions or of the film. Yeah. But she's like, "Watch out, little piggy," and then they throw a little baby piggy's head chopped off.
That was
like,
so sad.
Onto the windshield. And then
at first I thought it was like an anatomically correct heart.
That's what I thought too.
It looked like one.
It did.
And then they picked it up, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's a baby pig head!"
And it was fresh. And she just grabs it with her bare hand and just chunks it. And she's like, also ew. Like, yeah, I was like, why would she just grab it with her bare hand?
I would have turned
been
my
something in the car,
or
like, the windshield
wipers on and launched it off.
But then I guess that would have, like, the guts would have went everywhere.
Yeah.
Or the blood, at least. And I don't know if
I mean, it already had a nice big blood spatter on it
on her windshield.
When it hit.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
Just use your windshield wiper fluid.
I feel like, is blood easy to get off like that? I feel like blood is
probably
thick.
Not. It's too thick.
Viscous. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so on the
never killed anyone.
After all of that happening, we have her then getting to the police station, the old one, and that's whenever she gets there, and it looks super run down. It looks like, I mean, it's only been a year since the last. We saw that they were there, with her captain dad, But it seems like it's been let go, like and run down really bad for more than a year, and nobody's there.
Because it was like
It's
decrepit.
like decaying almost. But maybe also that's probably the evil entity, I don't know, or whatever taking over. I don't know, but it looked really bad. And obviously no one's there, and she's trying to go and like she's like hello, and nobody's speaking up to her, and then she ends up hearing someone like yelling, and we hear like the sound of a ball bouncing around, and so she goes to investigate, and she sees that at the end of a long hallway there's this cop who like is pissed off, yelling at something and
kicking a basketball around, yelling "fuck you."
Yeah. And so she ends up he sees her and he's like, who were you? And she's like, I just, how long you been here? And she's like, I just walked in, I'm supposed to be working here. And he's like, turn around. And she ends up turning around. She tries to walk off, but he's like, stop. And he goes up to her, and he's pretty much an asshole to her.
He's like, I said turn around, not walk away.
And his whole role in this movie is asshole.
Yeah, just to be an asshole.
That's pretty much it. He walks her to the office, right? I guess that's what it looks like. I don't know.
Yeah, I would call it an office.
Yeah, where we see that there's like a monitor that's like of the video cameras. There's a elevator in the room, which I also thought was kind of like, do rooms have elevators in them?
I guess maybe it was like the lobby before, and like that's why there's a singular desk in there, and like so that's where they would check in before taking them to holding. I don't know. So
I know it was pretty.
That's my only explanation for that.
But yeah, he's basically explained to her like, you know, your job is to just watch the building essentially, and he leaves her number. He tells her if there's any emergency, like to call him, but like don't really call him. Basically,
don't call me for girl chatter and stuff.
That's right.
Let's just call me only if, you know, like the building's on fire.
Oh, and then he's like, wait a minute, who are you? What's your last name? And then she tells him who she is, and he's like, you need to give me an explanation of why you would want to work this shift, because it's not making sense to me. And he's like yelling at her.
Yeah, he was very aggressive with everything that he did. And she's having to explain like, you know, I just wanted to know why.
I want answers.
Yeah, I want answers. And so she wanted to work where her dad worked, because her dad was the best person to her.
Yeah.
And
he's basically like talking shit about him.
Yeah, because he's like, your daddy was a murderer and stuff.
Killed my friends.
Yeah.
Which we can see, obviously. But like there were other forces. And so as he's leaving as well, he tells her to not go into holding. Doesn't give an explanation why, but says don't go to holding.
It's really like, if you weren't paying attention, you would miss it, because he didn't give any sort of explanation or anything. It was just like in passing. He was like, oh yeah, and don't go into holding.
I think he was already like out of the room, right?
Yeah.
Like we just heard his voice.
Yeah. He was like gone. And he just very matter-of-factly mentions don't go into holding. And again, like if you weren't paying attention, you would miss that, and then you would be even more thoroughly confused while watching this film than you are if you're paying attention.
It raised for me a bunch of like questions. I'm like, no, that's suspicious. Why does he want her to go over there? I was like, what? Yeah. But she ends up, you know, kind of settling in a little bit, and then she starts to hear a bunch of weird noises.
Like she's kind of going
super
exploring.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is very immediately. What the first one she hears, water splashing.
Yeah.
She hears like little feet pitter pattering basically through the shower while she's in there looking at her father's locker.
Yeah.
And then she hears a basketball yet again from around the corner.
And then she goes to the gym, and that basketball's in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
With like a spotlight on it, which also, what? Because the lights are off, but there's a spotlight around it.
Maybe it was some buildings have called a safety light or something, where it's just this light that never turns off. It's always on. And so maybe it was
like
that.
Emergency lighting.
Yeah.
In a way. And so she as she's looking at this ball, and for whatever reason that she decides not to immediately turn the lights on, she's in this dark ass gym, and across the way, because there's a door open, we see a silhouette of a man standing in the doorway, in the door frame. She quickly runs to go turn on the light, but as she turns back around, the figure is nobody's there. Which honestly, even if it wasn't, and it could have very well been a real person, maybe, I don't know. That was plenty of time for them to just like, whoop, I'm gonna dip out.
Yeah. By the time it took her to
turn the light
walk
on.
back to, yeah. Especially if they're being stealthy and stuff.
And trying to fuck with her.
Yeah. Then they definitely had enough time, which I think it was somebody in a police officer's uniform. That much was apparent. I think it was the ghost of her dad.
Yeah, I get that.
It could have also been. Now, I'm trying to decide if the two officers who come to help later are real, if they're ghosts.
I don't know.
I feel like
know.
they're ghosts.
I feel like maybe they
got
died
killed.
that day.
Yeah, and everything.
Yeah.
And that's why they were there. And acting the way that they were.
Yeah, because, but then, I don't know. Obviously the cult leader girl people, those were like not ghosts, but like more like demonic at that point, right? Because like their teeth were all like sharp and they had like red eyes.
Yeah,
and like,
they looked like they'd been decayed for a little bit too.
And then one had like her eye like that, I don't know, like closed up. It's just some of them did look real and some of them didn't. So I don't know. I'm still confused on that part.
I'm not sure. And maybe that's the whole point of the film, is to not know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had no clue.
Also, though, the amount of like stuff that she's putting up with and still staying there to me is ridiculous.
Yeah. No, the moment I heard water splashing behind me, like little pitter patter of feet, I would have been out. I would have been like,
at that point, I would have known.
Wouldn't have stayed in that place knowing how many people died there. By myself.
By herself. That's one thing. Yeah. Maybe with some other people, but like by herself. And especially like there's one thing like I will say there was just a lot going on. For me, I would have been like, nah, like once, okay, twice, 4, 5, 10 different sounds going on, and like from all different parts of the building, you know?
Yeah.
Because at this point she's like, oh, I hear something going. It's a lot of this movie is a lot of like, oh, I hear something, I'm gonna go over here and check it out, or I hear something, I'm gonna go over here and check it out. She did not know how to just stay still. But yeah, there's just a lot going on. So she's homegirl, like you said, was at her dad's locker. She was investigating that, but then I believe she hears another sound and she ends up it's someone yelling. She ends up going to the front, and it's that old man at the front, and he's in the glass doors of the building, and she's trying to talk to him like, you know, like, how may I help you?
Need help? Like, what's wrong?
But he's just yelling about like, she needs me, like, where is she?
Yeah, where's my daughter? Where is she? And
starts peeing.
Yeah, he was like asking questions, and it seemed like legitimately he was in distress, and then all of a sudden he just unzips his pants and is peeing on the door.
Yeah.
And then the pee's coming through the door, which is gross.
The pee was super yellow.
Yeah. Homeboy needed to drink some water. But yeah, he pees on the door, and she, you know, goes, mops it up once she sends him away and stuff, and is then back in the office, and she gets a prank call.
She does, yes. And it's some lady on the phone, right? And when she starts being like, hey, Piggy.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember if they say more. I think it was just that, right? Just like the hey, Piggy stuff.
Yeah, I think it was just the hey, Piggy stuff at this point in time.
She hangs up. Because it's later on when they start talking more, because that's not the first time she gets called. But yeah, she immediately then calls over to the police station because she's like, hey, I'm getting like prank calls over here at the old station. And the dude on the phone is like, wait, who are you? What's your name? And so immediately after she gives him her name, you know, he's just like, look, we've got a lot going on over here, and prank calls are at the last like of the bottom of our list. So like, just, you know, whatever. And also I think it's because of her last name. Obviously he kind of doesn't really want to help her, because there's a lot of bad blood. Is that a good way to say it? Bad reputation with her name associated, and her being her dad's daughter.
And so once they tell her that, she gets rightfully pissed off and goes back to the locker where she's already tried to get into it with like big wire cutter thing. And then she finally gets so fed up that she can't get into it, because she even tries hitting it with like a fire extinguisher, and that doesn't work. So then she decides to shoot it.
Yeah.
And that works. She's thankfully nothing ricocheted or anything like that and hit her. But she gets in and she sees the only thing that's left. And I was like, why did they lock up this locker?
With the lock,
with it to just like
be
what
empty.
they only knowingly could see was just a crumpled up piece of newspaper saying that he saved
same one
the
from the
three
beginning.
girls. Same one from the beginning. And she's looking at that, and then all of a sudden notices that the corner of the locker is kind of pulled up and that it's got a false bottom, and she opens it up and finds like a little thing of casework, basically.
A shoebox.
Yeah, like a little shoebox of casework, and
a shoe in a bag.
Yeah. And she opens it up and she finds the casework basically for all the girls he saved, and then a bunch of info on the cult as well.
Yep.
A bunch of newspaper clippings. It looked like, kind of like almost as if they could be tied to the wall with the red string and stuff. Yeah. But it was just all condensed into one little shoebox.
Yeah. And so obviously this is kind of something that she's going to be interested in, because she's looking for answers as to why, her dad would do the things that he did. But as she's in the middle of looking through this box, she starts to hear a pig snorting. So she goes to her little office area and sees on the monitors that there's a pig outside of the front of the building. And so she calls the police department to be like, hey, there's a pig over here. What do I do? And he's just like, once again, not giving her the time of day. But then, like, after kind of being a dick to her, is like kind of half apologizes and is like, you're the only punching bag that I have. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
He's like,
at
look,
least it's
I'm
being
sorry.
honest.
We're kind of in the weeds over here. And it's been a shit show. And
this is whenever I think
the first person I can take it out on.
He was like, this is whenever he mentioned, whenever you said earlier, I know you saw like what was happening on the steps earlier.
Yeah.
And what we're dealing with down here. And so he's just like, look, like, just leave the pig outside and we'll deal with it later. It's okay. And so she ends up, not listening.
That. Yeah, and brings the pig in.
Goes outside and is out there for far too long, honestly.
Yeah, because she's out there taking pictures of its back.
Which you could do inside.
Yeah, because on its back has the same demon, like, symbol. Pentagram symbol thing painted on it and what looked like blood.
Fresh.
Yeah, and I was like, girl, you're out in the open. And
she's just taking pictures and I could tell, like, she is
somebody
not
could slip in past the door
with
spatially
aware to her surroundings. Yeah. And so she brings it in. Also at that point I was like, why are you what like, I would have brought water out to it and left it outside, like, because what is it gonna do inside?
Yeah, besides just walk around and snort.
Yeah. At least outside it'll be outside. I don't know. And so it she, like you said, it comes in, she's giving it water, she puts it in a holding cell, and she sees that it has a collar and it has the name Betty on it. And then she hears something again, so she goes out, she's investigating, and she goes to what is it, like the back door area? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
because that's when she calls
like
in the back. She's like, this could be a possible B&E, breaking and entering.
Code 9.
I need help. And we do see that the back door was like held open with like a rock at the bottom, a stone. And at that point, she's looking around and investigating. We get one like false scare with some mannequins. Not mannequins. What are they? The things that people shoot at.
The heads. Shooting dummies.
And then we have her getting confronted by the old man, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was because at first you could tell someone was in there with her.
Yeah.
Like you could hear somebody clattering around. And then then the man's there right behind her. And
oh, that's right, because he's in there, but she gets up to the he scares her or something, right?
yeah,
And then she gets up to the office room, and that's whenever he ends up being in like the hallway. Am I wrong? That's later on, isn't
that's
it?
later.
Ah, okay, yeah.
But
you're right.
she does go back up to the lobby office room, and
Mhm.
she's in there, and he is also in there, and
Mhm.
he's just kind of turned around muttering, holding the bag. He had found the box.
That's right.
And he's holding the
he
shoe.
was throwing all that shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And he was holding the shoe in the box and in the bag, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And then he like turns around and is like, where is she?
Yeah.
Kind of.
And at this point she's like, oh my God, because at first she had her gun, right? But then she was
had her
like,
hand on her holster, and then
let me get the taser.
She was like, yeah, let me do this instead.
Mhm.
And she tases him.
Mhm.
Tases him right to the ground, and he goes down, and then she tells him to turn over, get on his stomach, and put his hands behind his back.
Yeah.
And she handcuffs him.
Mm-hmm.
And then she gets him up and walks him to a holding cell. And the whole time he's like being, responsive and
Mm-hmm.
not really like he's following orders. But then the moment they get to the holding cell door, he's like, no, I won't go in. It was like a dog who's afraid to go into a room.
Yeah.
Of something.
But then at that point he starts to say like, she's here.
She's here.
She's here. And so that he's screaming it. She's trying to drag him in. And this is also too where I'm just like, why would she? What? She starts to pull him in, and immediately I'm like, someone's gonna close that on her, or somehow it's gonna close. And what happens? That door closes. And she gets locked in there with the man.
And he grabs her ankle, tripping
Mhm.
her, making it to where she can't get to the door in time.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're locked in this holding cell with one another, and
it's really dark.
Yeah, it's really dark.
Pitch black, I'm assuming, and we just can only see them because it's a movie. But she's trying to get to her flashlight. So, she's trying to turn it. She turns on her flashlight, and he starts like barging at her, right? But then she like goes out of the way, and he's at the door. And she, in the like scare of it all, drops her flashlight on the floor, and that's whenever she's looking for it. But someone picks it up and is in the corner, and she's like, "Can you please give me back my flashlight, sir?" But then the flashlight starts panning around the room, and then she sees that the old man is in the corner.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like, "Oh, that's so scary."
No, yeah, that was terrifying.
Terrifying.
That was a very unsettling moment. I was like, "Oh God, who else is in here?"
That is so
with you?
scary. I would be terrified.
And then
She immediately turns around and starts like banging on the door, right? And she's like, "Oh my God!"
she's like, "Get me out of here!"
Yeah.
And the voice that's holding the flashlight says something along the lines of "Still here,
Still here." Yeah.
still here, still here." And
mhm.
she is like freaking out, not really listening to the voice, I'm sure, because she just wants out. And she recognizes the voice as her dad's, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Because then she's like, "Dad,"
Mm-hmm.
and
Then the flashlight drops and rolls to her.
and she picks it up, and
Nobody's there.
no one's in the corner,
And
which no one could have escaped in that
No,
amount
yeah.
of time. So
And because the old man is still on the floor as well, like in the corner, kind of curled up. And then I thought someone was literally going to come from behind her and open the door or something. So I was totally expecting that. So when what happens, I jumped.
when the
jumped.
bodies fell.
Some bodies like that were hung, like just come and drop right in front of her, and it freaks her out. And so, but then at the same time, the door opens behind her, so she's able to escape out of the door and closes it behind her. But yeah, that one got me. It was pretty spooky.
That one didn't get me,
No.
but it
Because
still.
you were expecting something, right?
Yeah.
I was expecting something too. I just was
But you
expecting
were
it from
expecting me
behind.
from the opposite way.
Yeah. And so when it came from a front, I was like, "Oh my God!" Yeah, I like jumped. Like
Actually,
jumped.
maybe I wasn't expecting it, and that's
Uh-huh.
why it didn't get me.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I feel like I get it whenever,
You're expecting something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like on edge already, and then it
Mhm.
happens, and I'm like, oh
Ugh,
God.
good. Damn it.
So yeah, exactly.
So she immediately like runs to the main office after all this shit starts happening because she's spooked out, and she calls the cop that she was talking to earlier at the police station, and she's like, there's some spooky stuff happening here. I need help immediately.
Yeah, she was like, I just was wondering who you were talking to. And he was like, what? And he was like, you woke me up in the middle of the night for this. And she was like, I just want to know if you've ever seen anything that wasn't there.
Yeah.
And he was like, you went into holding, didn't you?
Yeah.
Which I was like,
and this is where we get the explanation of like, there's black mold in there. You're probably hallucinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, can you just shut the fuck up and do your job? Which is pretty, like, he's just an asshole.
Yeah.
And
he's like, do you need me to come down there and hold your hand, or are you going to shut the fuck up and do your job? And she was like, I will do my job. And he goes, and she goes, and I will shut the fuck up. And I was like,
military.
Damn.
I don't know. Yeah. But she ends up picking up some of the files off of the ground, and she finds a USB underneath one of the pages. And so she goes to get her laptop, which also the fact that she can literally walk out and leave, but yet she chooses to stay here and gets the laptop and goes right back into the fucking building. Like,
yeah, after I saw 3 bodies drop from the ceiling,
yeah,
I would have been like, nope.
Yeah,
I'm getting the fuck out of here. Like, absolutely fuck not.
It drove me so wild that she like, I was like, wait a minute, she can just, because for some reason
time.
at that point, it already feels to me like she can't leave. She's locked in here. But like she could have very well left at any point. At this, up until,
Yep.
Right. But she goes out there to get that laptop. But at the same time, she sees this lady getting kicked and thrown out of a car, a moving vehicle with like, her stuff. And she is a lady of the night. And so she is obviously, what's her name? Jessica is like, hey, are you okay? Like, and the lady's just kind of looking at her. So we then cut to them being inside in that lobby area, and she's talking to her. She's cleaning her up. And even the lady is like, this must be your first time, huh? Your first night. And first shift, sorry.
Yeah, the fact that she said first shift in general, I was like,
that's hella like too accurate.
Yeah, because I would have just been like, are you a rookie?
New with this, yeah.
Yeah, because that's the like common vernacular.
But to be like, this is your very
first shift. Yeah, it's just odd. And
she tries to explain it by being like,
no
someone,
seasoned cop would help me like this,
like clean me up.
Yeah.
And so she's talking to her, and already off the bat, this lady seems like there might be something wrong with her. But then she starts to, as she's talking to her, it looks like she sees something behind Jessica. Oh yeah, because she was already talking about like, the cult and what had happened in the police station before, and how people hung themselves here. Basically,
she was divulging a bunch of information, and
that the public didn't know, I guess.
Yeah,
the cops like buried under wraps.
Put it under wraps. Yeah, and so then all of a sudden she sees something again behind her, but this time she's much more terrified, and she starts muttering something along the lines of like, I won't say anymore. I won't say anything else.
I said too much.
Yeah. And starts just screaming and pushes her chair away from the table and stuff. And then she like comes to and is like, sorry, I got a little distant there. Or what did she say?
I think that is what there's something like that.
There's something
like
with
she zoned out.
Yeah. Yeah. It was something like that.
And so she ends up being even more cryptic with Jessica. And I think she starts to then be like, she starts to recite like, whatchamacallit, the song again. Like we praise the low God and all this and all that. And then Jessica's like, okay, you need to get the fuck out. Like you need to leave. And she yells at her to get out, which she does. And I honestly thought like this chick is gonna have to come back in this movie at some point, but no, this was like her.
This was her only thing.
This was her only thing.
And as she stands up too, she started her period in the chair and was like, "You got a tampon I can have?"
She's like, "I can't go and do my business with my guts falling out."
Yeah, and
Jessica's just like, "Get
out of here!"
So gross,
fucking weirdo. Yeah. Before all this happened too, whenever she was picking up the things, we were trying to remember what it was called earlier, and it's called the Temple Baron, which is also known as the Harbinger of the Damned. We got that tidbit of information when she was looking through the files and then finds the USB. So she does that. But then, so once the woman leaves, she's in there and she gets another prank call. But this time they're intensified, basically. It's longer. The people are more direct.
Like they're actually talking.
Yeah. They're not just saying like, here, piggy kind of thing. They're like, you know.
Like actually having a conversation.
And kind of, don't they like, is this where they like call her by her name or by the fact that she's Will's daughter?
It might be.
Yeah.
I think so. Because they're also like, I think she's like, is this where she's like, if you hang up on me, don't you hang up on me again or I'll hurt her or something like that. And then she's, you know, Jessica's trying to get information like, what are you talking about? And like, it never divulges anything else from there. Like they don't say. And so then we end up having her hanging, or no. This is whenever she's still on the phone with them. And then we see like someone behind her, like a figure and like a sheet over their head and the symbol. And it's pretty eerie, but immediately, because the camera is like panning, it's like as soon as we see the camera panning from right to left, like we don't see it anymore when it's over her left shoulder when the camera comes to the other side. And then she hangs up, and that's whenever she calls the police station, and she starts to be like, hey, like I got another prank call, and this time it was more intense. I think they might be hurting someone. And that's whenever that guy on the other end is like, well, I shouldn't be telling you this, but those 3 girls from a year ago were kidnapped all tonight from a party.
Yeah.
Which also, why were they the same party? Anyways, but yeah, they were kidnapped, and he's just like, please stay there. Like, there's obviously a lot going on. We'll send someone down maybe later to help you out, but right now you need to stay there because you're a lot more helpful there to figure this out or something like that.
Yeah, and they did mention her name. Not the girls, but the girl that they kidnapped.
Yeah.
Her name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they mentioned it. And if it was on this one, it might have been a later one. But whenever he says, that's why he tells her.
Okay.
It was because he was like.
Because she mentions it, right? And then he's like, yo, you know what? They are missing.
He's like, I shouldn't tell you this, but then anyway, she decides to, since she has to sit down anyways and just stay there, she decides to watch the footage that's on the USB. And we basically get to see this horrible tragedy unfold, where we saw the 4th girl get bludgeoned to death, and
she don't even look like people anymore.
I was like, oh god. And then they showed it, and I was like, god damn it,
not your favorite. Yeah. But also Carl calling it out earlier, this is kind of like the beginning of it. Practical effects in this movie
were really good,
really ate it up.
Yeah.
And so we had her watching that, and then obviously, and it's the way also too, she's kind of just watching this like I was like, she doesn't have enough of a like reaction for me, like, and throughout the whole movie, whenever like spooky stuff is going on, and she's just kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, there's not enough of like, there's some really crazy stuff happening. What the fuck is
going on here?
This is fucked up. And then after watching some of this footage, that's whenever her mom calls, right?
Yes, I think so.
Her mom calls, and then the footage is still playing in the background because it won't go to pause, and that's whenever her mom and her are kind of talking, and then her mom hears it in the background, and she's like, turn that shit off. And whenever Jessica is going back to try to turn it off, the people who are in the footage, it's like it's almost breaking the 4th wall, like she's like entranced in it. And then like they look at her and start speaking to her.
Yeah, they're like, Jessica. And then
she ends up they touch hands, don't they? No, that's later. My bad.
Later.
Yeah, but at this point, she ends up.
The footage becomes of her.
That's right. Yeah.
The footage was them breaking the 4th wall, like you said, and then all of a sudden it flashes and she's in the video. It's like
someone watching her from behind.
Yeah, from the window behind her is filming her, and so she turns around. There's no one there, but then she watches herself on the video, but is not actually doing it. Get up and then slam the box on the ground, and she then goes up. She looks over the desks, sees that the box is indeed there. And so she goes, looks in it, and then finds this paper, one of the papers from the shooting range. And on it in blue lettering, it says "Still Here."
Yeah.
Which is what we heard whispered earlier by what we can assume is her father.
Yeah. And she ends up going to the shooting room, practice range little thing area. And she goes in. She notices that one of the dummies, shooting dummies, has a news clipping article pinned on it. So she goes down and goes all the way down into the area where, you know, those little pieces of paper go all the way to the back and you do shoot, the practice area, and grabs it. And as she's over there, what are those things called? The papers that move all the way back? Is there a name? Do you know?
No, I have no clue.
They
I just
start
called
coming.
them. I put, all the papers are coming towards her.
Yeah, they're going sent back. And I'm like, also too, like at that point, I don't know, man. It's a scary movie, but like the fact that you're going into an area where it's meant for bullets to come shooting in that area, I was like, she's about to get shot. Like,
yeah, I thought she was about to get shot too.
or
And
bullets
I was
were going to
like,
be hurling towards her. you
yeah.
know?
And I was like, girl, you need to get out of there now.
Yeah.
I was like, you are going to die.
Especially when she comes and it's like right in front of her and she's right behind the target and it has like the pentagram with the
demon.
blood again, you know, whatever smeared on it, the symbol. But immediately after she's like looking at that, I think this is when we get a jump scare again by the demon.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is
This
not
one
the
got
one
you?
that got me. No.
No. Okay. This one got me too.
This one did. Now, it did make me be like, that's fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Like, but the one that got me was when the girl pops up next to the desk.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
With her bludgeoned face.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Open. It almost looked like a flower.
Betty. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
The
When
fourth
it was
girl.
Betty.
Uh-huh.
And she popped up. That got me. I
I
was
know
like,
what you mean.
no.
Yeah. The and even with this demon thing, like the practical effects, like excuse me, sorry guys. You can really see, like, I mean, this was not CGI or anything. It was like a person in like a whole costuming and makeup and everything, and like they look scary as fuck.
They did. They
Uh-huh.
were terrifying.
Yeah.
Like their bloodied kind of red lips that were showing through.
Yeah, through the sheet again, or what is it?
Pillowcase.
Pillowcase. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And their like little beady eyes that were showing through and stuff too. It was just like, ugh.
The contacts, like the fake teeth and the blood, the sharp teeth. It was all pretty satisfying and terrifying. And so she ends up running terrified and spooked to the main room again, the lobby area, and she calls the police again, and she's like, hey, like there's someone in here with me. I'm freaking out. Like I need help. I think this is the part actually where he's like, I need you to stay there. Like just calm down. But whenever she gets off the phone, the elevator dings.
And the song started playing over her speaker.
That's true.
On her like
Shoulder.
her little walkie-talkie shoulder thing. And then it
And then
starts
over the
playing
intercom.
over the loudspeaker. Yeah. And yeah, then the elevator dings. But nothing ever comes of it.
Because you think
Doesn't
something's gonna open, but then from behind her, a ball gets thrown.
Yeah,
at the wall.
basketball gets thrown. And that one almost got me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that one was just such a like audible
Out of nowhere.
scare.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere that I was like, God.
And it's funny too because it was just like just to fuck with us and her because nothing even like because then we just cut to her then watching the interrogation of her dad. She sits down and she's like, okay, I'll just watch more footage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, again, remarkably chill. I would have
Yeah.
taken that ball
Like,
flying at my head as I'm under
threat.
attack.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I need to get out of here.
And also just leaving the ball. Like I would have like got that ball and like you're going in the storage closet. You're gonna stay in here. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, let's eliminate the ball. How about that? And so she ends up watching more footage of her dad now interrogating whatchamacallit, John Malum. I keep wanting to call it Malum.
Malum is how I thought this.
That's what I thought so too.
I thought it was called
And then
Malum.
watching it, I'm like, okay, they keep saying Malum. Mhm,
Yeah, because
mhm,
I told some people, I was like, yeah, we're going to be covering Malum next.
mhm.
And people were like, what the fuck is that? And I was like, I don't know, but it's called Malum.
Yeah.
And then I was like, Malum, and then I spelled it out for one of my friends, and they were like, Malum.
Yeah.
And I was like, it could be Malum.
Yeah.
And then
I was also calling
while
him Malum,
listening.
but now when I'm watching the movie, I was like, okay,
I'm
everybody's
glad I'm
saying
not
Malum.
alone though.
Yeah, no, I got Malum as well.
Yeah, it gave Malum.
I don't know why. I think it's just like the 5 like letters, and like it. My mind doesn't go it goes I don't
Mhm.
know. But yeah.
Well, good. Glad we
You're not the
weren't
only one.
alone in that.
Yeah. And so I even with Robert, I was like, oh, we're gonna be watching Malum, and he's like, what? And I was like, this one, and he was like, Malum, and I was like, no.
Don't judge him, Robbie.
Yeah.
I did it too.
Yeah. And so she ends up watching the interrogation with the dad and John Malum there. And so at the same time as like it's probably like a good minute and a half of footage, and we just kind of see them going back and forth a little bit, and John is being super cryptic and super like cult leaderish, and we see that towards the end of that video the captain stands up abruptly, and it looks like he sees something, and so she ends up replaying the footage over and over again to see if she sees something, even clicks I think like a different camera angle, and we see that he saw like a demon figure like over the shoulder of John in the like reflection of the glass.
Yeah. It almost looked like a triceratop to me.
I could see that. I was getting like minotaur, like centaur thing,
or what's that one movie that came out recently with it was like,
which one?
It reminded me of like an 80s horror film with that like alien creature that comes and just wants to kill people, but these two kids found it. It was like a horror comedy.
Oh, I don't know if I watched that.
Oh shit, I forgot what it was called. I'll have to look it up later and then let y'all know. But
I don't know.
It reminded me of the way.
Right?
No,
okay.
Gorman, Psycho Gorman.
I've not heard of that at all.
It looked like
Gorman, like Goreman, like Gorman, or like gore, and then it's all like, is it 3 words or 2 words?
How do you spell psycho?
PH
SYCHO.
I think no, just PS. My bad, just PS.
PS.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Psycho.
YCHO.
Gorman. Yeah, Psycho Gorman.
Is it like Foreman? Like
it's a PG horror movie, but for some reason it looked like.
Is it like Goosebumps?
It has a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was actually really good.
Where'd you see this at, or what was it?
I watched it with my friend Caleb back in the day, whenever it came out. But look, didn't it kind of look like him?
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. Mm-hmm.
Like he kind of looks like an orc.
Yeah,
orc
from the Lord of the Rings. Orc.
But yeah,
orc.
That's what it kind of reminded me of. It's actually a really good movie. You should watch it.
Psycho Gorman.
It's PG.
It gives goosebumps.
Yeah, it's cute. A heartwarming and heart-ripping family classic. Anyways, all y'all should go watch Psycho Gorman.
And so she ends up after this. She starts to have a vision of sorts, or like ends up having like an outer body experience, out of time experience, if that makes sense. Because even in my notes, I'm like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
It's like a vision of like a whole bunch of stuff happening.
Yeah, so this is when the bag gets put over her head,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Or the pillowcase.
And then like she's like now in this room with
a
like
body bag.
A morgue setting.
Yeah.
And then like people are running in and out, but I couldn't tell if like this is real or not. And then it's like the people from the video, but they're dead, but they're not dead.
Yeah.
And it's John, but he's dead, but he's not dead. So I don't know.
It was so confusing to me as well, especially whenever she woke up on the floor.
Yeah.
And I was like,
and also when she was in the bag as well and just like couldn't move, I was like, wait, is she like, did someone
drug her?
Now she's immobile, like, and she was just crying. Like, I don't know.
Which that's a natural. One time I had to get a spinal tap, and whenever you get a spinal tap, you can't like it. They like numb your whole body.
Oh, I don't know.
Because
you can't move.
Yeah. I couldn't like really control my limbs.
Yeah.
And all I could do was lay there for like several hours, and watch TV. And for some reason, it freaked me out so much I started crying.
I mean, if you don't,
because I was
that makes
like,
sense.
I
Yeah.
couldn't move any part
It
of my
seems like
body.
anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It freaked me out.
And so she ends up, like you said, waking up on the floor. And at this point, I believe she's like now stumbling or trying to like, she's hearing noises, but then we hear one of the cops being like, hey, is anybody here? Like, you know, and so she has her gun pulled. And so when she ends up meeting him, they're like, whoa, like, hey, put your gun down. Like, it's all
Yeah.
good. We're just here to help. We were trying to call out, but nobody answered. And so these are the same cops from the beginning of the film that were working with her dad, and they're like, the one big guy was just like with some bolt clippers and like, okay, you know, I got the whatchamacallits undone, because I guess we failed to mention earlier she had tried to exit the building and they now are chained. The doors were chained at that point. Yeah.
They were chained in, and he came in with the bolt clippers and was like, I got the back door undone, kind of thing, which is like, that's terrifying, because then someone's
could get in through the back door.
Yeah.
It's we need to leave now situation.
Yes.
But we don't, because now we're just talking.
Because why would we leave?
Yeah, because he sends, one of them has to go get the old man from the holding cell, and then as we're doing this, she's asking the cop questions about her dad, and he starts to tell her like things, and then he goes and I don't know why he would, but shows her the gun that he used to kill himself.
I was so confused. I was just like, what the fuck? This is so dark.
Traumatizing, yeah.
And then
the way she's like, I'm gonna immediately touch that. I want to look all over that.
Yeah, I know. And she was just like, is that? And then reaches out for it. And I was like, what?
And he's like, don't touch it. Yeah. And he's treating it as if it's like possessed or something, like it's evil. It's wrapped up. He's like, don't touch it. He's
they
like,
just keep it in the corner propped up.
This is gonna burn with the building or something like that.
Yeah.
And so then at this point, after showing her the gun, she ends up walking with him a little bit more. Or no, immediately he comes back whenever he puts the gun back, and his face is like all bashed in, like blown off.
Yeah.
Looks like he took a shotgun to the face. So I'm assuming, yes, he was murdered whenever his dad went crazy.
A ghost, yeah.
And so she like freaks out and is running away. And it seems like it's another vision or something like that happening, but then she like comes to and she's watching more of the videos, and this is whenever we get to see that she was like baptized as a baby in John's blood.
Yeah, and is one of them
and will forever be one of them. And like then he turns around and the camera pans to her mother, Diane,
Diane. Yeah,
when she was Diana, when she was, is it Diane or Diana? I don't even remember.
I think it's Diane.
You're right about that. And then we see that she was a part of the cult, and so we're kind of getting more and more info, and we see that her mom is like talking to her as a baby, and then like puts her hand out and they start touching hands to the monitor.
Yeah, this is when that happens. Yeah.
And yeah, then she immediately gets a phone call from her mom. Or no, she tries to call her mom, and her mom doesn't pick up. That's right. Because she wants to like be like, what the fuck? And so this is whenever
my jump scare happens.
Yeah, because now we get this girl with her face blown off.
And her face is all mangled, and she pops up next to, she's crawling for starters, which we all know I don't like crawling things. And so she's like crawling because her leg is also eaten off by the pig.
Yeah.
And so she's sitting there crawling and lunges at Jessica, and I was like, God damn it.
And the camera goes like with her it's like right in the camera's, lens.
So it's like a big wide angle shot of her.
Yeah,
and it was
pretty
like,
gnarly. Good practical effects.
Yeah,
good team on the makeup department. And they ends up she ends up obviously getting scared, and she's running throughout the place, ends up getting chased into like a basement area, or like another
like a storage room.
Yeah, there's a lot of storage in there.
And it reminded me of Jurassic Park when they're hiding in the kitchen.
Oh yeah.
Because she was having to go hide behind things. But then we see the little creature crawling around, just like,
yeah, and it's making pig noises too.
Yeah.
And so I, at this point already, was like, this is just a pig. But she ends up trying to shoot and shoot and shoot, and finally she ends up shooting at it, killing it, and it ends up being the pig.
Ends up, yeah. She killed the little piggy.
And so this is
not little piggy, it was a giant pig.
One instance where we see that she's doing things and seeing things, but whenever we come back to reality, we find out that like it's not what it was. You know,
that's why I really thought she was gonna have killed all the police officers who tried to come help her, thinking it was the
fake or
bad people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I can see why.
And I almost wish it would have gone with that route for this, like, because since they tied in this bit right here, I feel like it would have been a more explainable route. But I also do like not knowing what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
So
and then having like a basically not so happy ending. And so she ends up running all the way to the gym, and that's when she runs into a lady in the gym, and she's holding another girl at gunpoint, and she's spewing all this like, you know, we need blood for the ritual, and the animals only give so much, but a human like just keeps.
Now that gives a lot of power.
Yeah. And so, and at this point, because that lady who has the other girl at gunpoint is like, put your gun back in your holster or I'll shoot.
And at this point, Diana's shown up.
Oh yeah, that's right. She did show up.
Diane showed up,
and she was like,
and she told her to wait.
Yeah.
In the lobby office room.
But Diane doesn't.
Diane immediately leaves.
Yeah.
So.
And so.
Which gets her literally killed.
Yeah.
Later.
Which I also don't understand. Coming back to the lady in the gym, why Jessica doesn't just immediately kill her when she has another a civilian, someone else at gunpoint.
It would have just been like,
just shoot her. Yeah,
you already had the gun aimed.
Yeah, just shoot her. There's intent already. But anyways, she puts it in her holster, and then that poor girl gets killed. And then as soon as she gets killed, and then Jessica shoots the lady who was holding the gun, these people just start running towards Jessica, which is pretty.
Her line horrifying. Too, when she was like, "I'm right here, cunt."
Yeah. That's right.
And then like shoots her. Bam. I was like, damn, that's a good line.
Very one-liner.
Yeah.
And so she's getting chased out of the gym by these people, and she ends up closing the door just in time behind her to keep them in there. But as she's going to look for her mom, she ends up getting a phone call in the lobby area. And this time, as she thinks that it's the police officer that's been helping her the whole time, it starts to talk to her and like reference her like specifically and be like saying, I forget cryptic shit, but
saying like, you were always meant to be my, like, you were always made to be one of us. You were like baptized in my blood and stuff. So you realize she's talking to John.
Yeah. And so and then we get a pan to the phone. It was never fucking plugged into any line. It was like cut.
It was severed.
And so at this point, I even write in my notes, I was like, I can't tell what's real or fake. Like, I don't even know what's going on.
I had no clue what was happening.
But she ends up, this is whenever the old man, the hobo from the beginning, who I guess is Betty's dad, ends up walking into the hallway behind the lobby. And she goes in there and she's like, hey, like, what's going on? And he ends up, walking towards her or something like that, and I think this is where she ends up shooting him. No,
this is,
and he falls on top of her.
Yeah, and it's pretty fucking wild because we saw him go into the room earlier where he was about to leave, and we saw him go into the room, and you hear him go, Betty, she's right here, and walks into the room.
Oh, that's right.
And then the pig comes out a while later with blood dripping from its mouth. And then we see him walking around with no foot. It's just a stump.
It's just like gnawed it raw.
Yeah. And like ate the foot bones. So it was just like the femur. Right? Is this your femur?
It was just like, I don't know what that is, but I think it is
your shin bone.
Yeah.
It was
pretty
just,
gnarly.
Yeah, that little.
And even then, just like whittled down to like a little, like.
He looked like Captain Hook.
Yeah.
With like a peg leg.
But in bone. And then it wasn't all the way to the ground, was it? Or
it was dragging on the ground.
Okay, yeah.
It was like scratching the ground.
And so she's like freaking out, right? And then she kills him, and he lands on top of her. And then at this point, I think she like gets out from under him, and then she ends up seeing that another girl, like this dude has another girl on a pentagram, and he's stabbing her.
Yeah,
right?
stabbing her,
And she ends up shooting
then
that dude.
she shoots him, but not before he slits her throat.
That's right.
And so then she walks up to her, and she's running up to her, and she's like trying to hold her throat together, and is like, "Please stay with me, please stay with me, please, please,
Yeah.
please." And then we realize she's dead.
Yeah.
It was a little too late.
Which kind of goes back to the beginning whenever that one cop was like, have you ever had to watch like the light leave someone's eyes, you know?
Yeah, you ever watched a man die?
And so now she has.
Now she has. Right, face to face.
Yeah, and it all gives like, because they're all like dying and getting murdered on top of the same little symbols we've been seeing throughout the whole movie. Like this is all a part of the ritual. And we have her running off to some other room again. I don't remember, but she ends up seeing that the third girl is being hung up. Is it in the holding cell? Yeah, right. And she's being hanged, and Jessica's trying to help her, and like not help her well enough, I will say, but help her and get her down. But she ends up getting tossed to the ground.
Whenever she pulled out the knife, because she hesitates, I thought she was going to stab her
or do something. Yeah, me too. I thought so too.
And then
she doesn't help her well enough.
Yeah, because then she gets kicked away. Yeah. And this rope, this scene is so sick.
Yeah.
This rope starts tightening. The girl was able to slip her fingers underneath the rope, and the rope starts tightening, and you can see it like break her fingers
and then
against her throat. Clean off. And then cut them clean off, and then cut her head just clean off.
Right off.
And her eyeball.
Her eyeball like, plops
popping
out.
It like, you know, like those little jelly toys that you squeeze, and you squeeze it really hard, and the little fishies are in it and stuff. And yeah, come out. That was her eyeball.
Or like the balls that have like the little net around them, and you're like,
yeah, and you squeeze it through the little, and it poops out. Yeah, that was her eyeball. Ugh.
And yeah, her head pops right off and just covers Jessica in blood, which is pretty cool. Pretty gnarly
where
looking.
We get our thumbnail picture from.
We do. And then for the rest of the movie, she's got this blood all over her. But I'm assuming that was kind of like a big step in the ritual, because then that's whenever we have her then going to some room where she sees the throne. And then we have all the people behind her, right? Or something like that.
This is where my notes say, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, because it's kind of all over the place. Because then I have it like, is she one of us? Someone's on the throne. It's I thought it was Malum, but it is Malum. It's John Malum. Yeah,
it was Diane at first.
Yeah.
And then it ends up being John. But she ends up getting her dad's shotgun too.
Oh,
Comes
that's right.
in, starts like blowing everyone's heads off.
That's true.
And
got very lethal weapon.
Yeah, and she's like, any noise that she hears, she shoots at. And
not very good aim.
Yeah. And then she runs into that room where the girl is sitting there with the pillowcase over her head with the like blue lips. And
she's like saying that thing like squish 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 wash, talking about the balls or whatever she had cut earlier. And the police officers are on the dog leashes.
Yeah, she picks with the two police officers whose heads we saw got blown off.
This movie, kind of like our last movie, Hereditary, lots of heads getting blown off or cut off, and rituals and cults of shit.
That's true. Yeah, it's fucking wild. And she's sitting there saying stuff about like, she's basically saying exactly what needs to happen in order for the ritual to take place.
Yeah.
Like, she needs to become one of us. She needs to believe. She needs to come willingly. She needs to do this, this, and this. And then she'll be part of this kind of thing. And then what happens? She ends up running out of the room, right? And that's when she runs into the room with the chair. Yeah. And we see Diane on it.
And then she's like,
Mom?
Up being John when she takes off the thing, and he looks sick and like just decayed and like has demon eyes and these razor sharp teeth, and he's just kind of like grimacing at her. And then that's whenever we have like the crowd of people popping up from behind her. And the lady that she saw earlier that she had shot, and they're welcoming in the demon. It's there. Not the harbinger, the herald, right? The herald of,
it was a harbinger of the damned.
A harbinger of the damned. There we go.
Yeah.
And then
Temple Baron.
His
They say the Temple Baron approaches.
the practical effects were really good, and like the way that they, because it looked like it was all done like no CGI or anything. Like
it reminded me of, I think I've
like Cenobites almost in a way.
Yeah.
And there's some other movie that it kind of reminds me, but I don't know the name because I've never seen it. I just know that I know like the images of it.
It reminds me of her from Doctor Who.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I think I've brought her up before.
Yeah, I see it.
Moisturize
especially
me, Lady Cassandra.
The
With
starfish face looking
Yeah.
situation going on with just lips and eyes. And she ends up, I think at this point she's shooting at the demon and nothing's really working. And then we end up, I guess, coming to reality. I don't know if it's reality or not or what it is, but she ends up shooting her mom. Like it's her mom that she's shooting.
Yeah, because she escapes from the weird temple baron because he takes his mask off.
And it like goes on her like very alien face
like
hugger.
A starfish. Yeah. And just like wraps on her face. And then she's all of a sudden in the hallway.
Yeah.
And then another demon approaches her and is there.
The one from earlier, wasn't it? Like the one that was that scared her in that locker, not locker, the dark area. The storage room.
I think so. Or maybe it was a different demon. That demon showed up in the one that showed up in the shooting range. That one showed up in the room whenever the Temple Baron came out. This one was a different looking demon, I think.
Yeah.
But
you're probably right, because at this point all those demons are like getting mixed up.
They're starting to blur together.
Yeah.
He showed up and she ends up shooting this demon, and then all of a sudden comes to and realizes she shot Diane.
Yeah.
Instead,
like, oh my god.
So she's
really
seeing
sad.
things that aren't actually there.
And then all the like ghosts people or real people, I don't know, like start cheering and clapping and like sadistically like
laughing and
mocking her basically.
It was really disturbing the way that they were laughing and stuff. They did a really good job.
Oh yeah.
With them.
And their faces and the actors looked really crazy.
Yeah. Deranged.
Yeah. And their laughs did too. And so she's like kind of freaking out, and then she starts just reciting her like cop's oath thing that she's been saying throughout the whole movie.
And this is the one that changes into something of God.
At the end,
yeah. And then she just
blows her head off.
She laughs and then puts the gun to her head and pulls the trigger.
Unalives herself.
And she collapses to the ground, and everyone is still there,
like clapping, cheering. And then we get cutting to then the thrones, and there's Malum, I guess, and then her on the other throne, dead, slouched over. And we pan out, and then we get her like breathing, and the movie ends.
Yep. And that was it. I almost wish it would have ended with whenever the interview with John was happening, or like it showed the interview with John again at the end and was reciting some more words.
And he was like, mark my words, like I will come back. And
I will come back. I wish it would have rolled black screen right there.
I can see that. Yeah.
I think that would have been really cool. And then they could have made, I don't see why they need to make a second one, but they could have.
No, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Or
it almost
really, it could have just left it there too, and I would have been fine with it.
Him saying that and on the video, it gave very like mic drop.
Yeah, like,
Boom.
exactly.
I did what I said what I said, and I did it. Bam. Yeah, because everybody's dead. But yeah. That is Malum.
2023's Malum.
I even did it like a mixed them. Malum. Melon. Oh, Lord.
Malum would make sense because it'd be like alum with a M on it.
Malum. I like that.
Malum.
Oh well.
Malum.
Let's dip into it. For half of this movie being like, what the fuck is happening? I don't know what's happening. It's like throughout the whole movie too, I was like, I can't tell if this is good or bad, but like I'm still liking it. Like, because there were so many instances where I'm like, I'm genuinely like kind of like disturbed or scared, or all the jump scares, and then like it kept like just kind of building and building. I think that the practical effects were just amazing. I think that there was a lot of good stuff going on there, and I mean, there's obviously a lot of stuff that like rationally and realistically, I'm like, there's no way that someone in their right mind would stay through all of this or like would be like enduring, even if you had like some sort of like, I need to find out what happened to my father. Like, I think it would
I'm
have,
sorry. I love my dad, but I don't
that would have been like
care enough to find answers
like
in this
let's
situation.
leave and then we'll find out answers outside of this building at night by myself. Like
Yeah.
maybe I'll come back with some people or something, you know? Like it's just that feels like a good time to like retreat and rethink and reassess. Yeah, I honestly I couldn't tell you. I think really basically like the mom and the being in the cult and her being already kind of indoctrinated and spoken for kind of fucked Jessica over. She had no choice, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I can't tell if the dad like lost his mind and then became a part of it, or was a part of it the whole time, or like they were a part of it.
And like
then,
that's where they even knew to find Jessica or to find Diane, and knowing because Diane says at one point that Malum just showed up on her doorstep one day.
Like he did an age and it was like looking at a nightmare or a monster or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of questions. I know that it was a remake of that original one. So
impregnated her just so she could become the queen.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, what if her dad is not even her dad and John was her dad this whole time?
Yeah.
That could be a situation.
I would like that.
Yeah. I feel like overall though, it had some really good themes. It was only like an hour and 30 minutes, so it was pretty digestible. And I kind of like that it's leaving me kind of asking more questions than like feeling like it was all like wrapped up and now okay, I know everything about it. I don't know. I kind of feel like it leaves it up to our interpretation and our imagination, and it kind of makes it a little scarier. But I would probably give it like, honestly, like, oh man, I'd give it four, just for the amount of like tension that I was feeling and the amount that I was like, oh my bad, that I was like this on the couch, like I don't know what's about to happen next, and then, or like this is freaking me out, like
the shit just hit the fan and you have no clue what's going on, and you're just like, what the fuck am I? I'm just here for the ride. Yeah. I have no clue what's going on anymore. And
honestly, those like, even like you said, the Betty, the was attacking her, like the makeup and all that department, like it was really scary. Like these like people, demon things, and then like the actual demon at the end, like they were genuinely spooky. Yeah. Like I could at least totally see that in my nightmares, like freaking me out.
Yeah. For sure. I agree.
I'd give it a 4.
I was like, whenever I got done watching it, I was like, I'm giving this movie a 5. I really liked it, but I think I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Gotcha.
Just because of the storyline and some
we have too many questions.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like a little bit of questions is good, but then too many questions. Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is happening? But overall, it was a really... And her lack of reaction, like you said. Yeah.
It's kind of pissing me off at times.
Yeah. I'm like, girl, are you dumb?
Yeah.
Are you actually stupid? Let's get out of here. I think it was overall shot really well. It had really cool, like, camera angles and stuff like that were intriguing, and the storyline is just like a big what the fuck is going on, which I like, and I like cults, and
yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Thought it was super interesting to watch, and it just left me having a lot of questions, but I still am a big fan of it. Yeah, for some reason I was just watching it and I was like, I really enjoy this.
Yeah,
and I think would want to watch it again.
It had me on the edge of like, I don't know what's happening, and then I don't know what's gonna happen next, I guess. Yeah.
I think it was a very good film, and I want to rewatch it to see if I can't pick up other things and see if there's some more foreshadowing and stuff that I maybe missed out on, and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I would give it a 4.5 for me. I don't have any fun facts today because all the trivia is that this was a remake of The Last Shift.
Yeah, same.
And so
I even tried to look up The Last Shift, and it kind of almost seems like kind of beat for beat of what this was. Yeah.
Well, yeah, one of the reviews on IMDb, it's pretty savage. It says a laughable cash-in by remaking his own movie from 9 years ago. And so he says there was something very, very familiar. I'm assuming this is a man because it seems like an asshole wrote it.
Okay.
I could be wrong. They gave it a 3 out of 10. But basically it says, if there's something very, very familiar about the storyline in Malum, as if I had actually seen it before somewhere. Perhaps I'm mistaken, but I sat with an overwhelming sense of I've seen this already throughout the course of the 92 minutes that this 2023 movie played for. And then I found out that the director, Anthony DiBlasi, 2023's movie was just a remake of his own movie, Last Shift from 2014. And he said, how lame is that? And I was like, that's really not that lame.
Yeah,
it's a kind of a common thing, and go for it. If Homeboy wanted to remake it, Homeboy can remake it.
Well, it's like anybody. It's like an artist or like music. Like if someone wants to remaster, like
Taylor does it all the time.
Yeah. If someone wants to redo something, I mean, I get it. Like I probably would too if I had something that I thought was like a really fucking great idea, but it didn't have the budget or like I didn't have the resources, but now I do. I'd remake it.
Yeah, exactly. And so it goes on to say, if you've seen the 2014 movie Last Shift, do yourself a favor and skip on this 2023 movie.
You've basically seen it.
Yeah, it says talk about a lazy approach to directing. It says the acting performances in the 2023 were fair enough. However, that they weren't familiar with any of the cast ensemble in the movie. And it's like, well, that's okay. You don't have to know everyone in every movie. You don't have to have a big actor. And then they say, now if you haven't watched the 2014 movie Last Shift already, then I guess you'll find some entertainment in this 2023 remake. But if you've watched a 2014 movie, there's very little to be thrilled about in this unnecessary remake. So
that guy just shed all over it. But you know what? Hey,
we liked it,
Mr. Antony. So good job. And DiBlasi, we're hoping to see some other movies from you. I feel like you got some good ideas in you.
Yeah. This was a very unique kind of approach to a horror film, in my opinion. And I've never seen anything really quite like it. Well, I guess maybe there are.
I mean, there are movies that kind of follow like cults and this and police officers and like, investigative type of movies, but
people who are the last one in the building at night kind of thing.
But it definitely had its own spin to it. It definitely, I feel like, for better, like it really, I think it tried to bite a lot off that, you know what I mean? Like it had a lot of ideas going on and a lot of like, I'm sure, this with like a limited series, like 8-episode series, like we could go into the backstory of like her, have 2 episodes where like now
we're in the cult
flashback when Diane was young and like how everything happened, how she got into it, how like they excommunicated out. Now like it feels like there could be a lot more built onto it.
I agree.
Yeah,
but as always,
we're in the lovely Rogue Media Network studios.
That's right. They take great care of us. And you can listen to us and all the other amazing podcasts on this network all in one central place, and that is at
roguemedianetwork.com.
And then if you want to listen to us on any place where you get your podcasts, the biggest 2 would be
Apple
and also Spotify. But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that's the only way we can get ahead in this world. And word of mouth, tell your friends, tell your pigs, tell your moms,
your cult
dads,
leaders,
tell your cult leaders, tell your John Malums.
Yeah.
And if you want to reach out to us and let us know your thoughts on Malum, if you've seen it and whether or not you also called it Malum, please let us know to make us feel better on our one social media platform, which is Instagram, and that is at
BooBaes Podcast, and that's at BOOBAES, because we're your BooBaes, not your BooBabes.
That's right. And until next time, you guys.
Bye, Baes.
Bye, Baes.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production. production. Are you a podcaster? Let's talk podcast hosting. Are you tired of your current podcast host? Need real support in a community that gets it? At Rogue Media Network, we offer top-tier podcast hosting services to help you thrive. From hosting and distribution to dedicated support, we've got you covered. Starting as low as $25 a month. Join our community of passionate podcasters today. Contact us at hello@roguemedianetwork.com.